following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee. Welcome into this Hump Day edition of Main Street Sports. Today, we'll be joined by the Wilson Post sports editor, Tommy Bryan, talk a little Lebanon basketball. Also, Teresa Walker will join us to talk a little SEC men's tournament action, plus a little MLB talks, Wild and Wacky Wednesday, and more on this Hump Day edition of Main Street Sports today. Now, to the Hall of Famer and Sports Writer of the Year and the Sundrop Kid from Alabama, here's Mo and Chris.
Welcome into this wild and wacky edition of Main Street Sports today. Glad to have you with us here as the weather has certainly gotten better in the last 8 hours.
Thank goodness.
So it's still a little chilly out there, but it's actually tolerable because the sun's out, and I'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, that was the worst thing about yesterday. It wasn't so much the cold; it was just the gray.
everything about yesterday's weather was just bleh.
Could have been worse. Could have been raining.
Could have been, but luckily it wasn't. Hope you guys are having a wonderful week. When we get done with this, you'll be on the wrong side of it, on the back side of your work week.
I'd say that's the right side of it.
Well, it depends. And for us, finally, we actually get a little break. Normally, the backside of the week is the tougher part of the week for us. So
Definitely a little different this week.
it is. It's nice. JP, we have had a suggestion of putting a picture of Mo sleeping in the paper because it will be the first time that he's done so in quite a while.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, it's not.
So
No, it's not.
Proof that it does exist. Sleeping does exist for one Mo Patton.
Yeah, it's rare, but it does happen
Mm-hmm.
on occasion. Man, what a great show we've got lined up. We're going to talk to Tommy Bryan about that Lebanon Independence game that took place on Monday. We'll also talk about some NFL QBs continuing to remain on the move. So that's exciting. The Titans, big deal for Harold Landry and the Titans. We'll get into that. We'll talk about Major League Baseball, some college basketball. We've got Teresa Walker going to join us, and she's going to talk a little bit about some college basketball as well. And of course, it's Wild and Wacky Wednesday. So all of that is coming up. But before we get into any of it, we have to give you some results, some from yesterday, a couple from today, and more on the rundown.
Is the rundown.
In high school girls basketball action, state tournament over at MTSU's Murphy Center. Class 2A quarterfinals. These were all yesterday. Gatlinburg Pittman defeated Scotts Hill 68-32. It was York Institute 53, Gibson County 50. Alcoa with a 47-38 win over Westmoreland, and Westview defeated Decatur County Riverside 55-29.
In 3A action yesterday, it was Page defeating Dyer County 52-38, Jackson Southside 62, Greenville 54. Today, this morning, we had Upperman defeating Elizabethton 59-42, so the Lady Bees advance, as well as Creekwood with a 43-40 win over Fayette Ware, and had to hold off Fayette Ware after getting up. It was 29-16 at the half, and then Fayette Ware made a comeback. So anyway.
Okay. In softball action, college softball action on Tuesday, 18th ranked Tennessee with a 9-1 win over Austin Peay. NCAA baseball action, Tennessee and James Madison were tied at 7-7. That's 10th ranked Tennessee and James Madison when that game was suspended.
I assume for rain or weather or something.
Or curfew. I don't know. I mean, kids got to study.
Yeah, and 14 runs. I don't even know what inning they were in.
Yeah.
It didn't say.
NHL action last night. The Predators with a 2-1 win over Dallas. Much needed. NBA, the Grizzlies defeated New Orleans 132 to 111. 111.
3-1s, not 2. Today's action continues at the Murphy Center as currently Beach and Arlington. Hey, Arlington, they're in the tournament. Sorry. Unlike last year, Arlington and Beach are currently playing right now. Beach leading 34-33. Blackman and Bearden take the floor at 2:45. It's Cookeville and Oakland at 4:30, and Farragut Rossview at 6 o'clock. And in NCAA tournament action tonight, Georgia and Vanderbilt will be 7 o'clock tip on the SEC network. And Ole Miss, Missouri is at 5, so also on the SEC network. And that's going to do it for today's rundown. So just as an aside, if you haven't been listening to this show for a while, if you missed last year, Arlington's girls were disqualified from the state tournament in the sectional round, before the sectional round. And so they did not get a chance to play for a trip to the Murphy Center. And so their appearance this year is, exciting, I'm sure, for that team. But yeah, it's
they would probably just as soon not be reminded of last year, Chris. So
they're busy. They're not listening to us. They're watching a ball game right now. So good of a time as any to talk about it.
There we go.
The SEC basketball tournament starts today, and that is our opening tip. Want to talk about Ole Miss and Missouri. The fact that Ole Miss, poor Kermit Davis, man, really thought they were going to have a good year and ended up playing on day one of the SEC tournament. That is not where you want to be.
It's not where you want to be. This league is really deep. There's an article on Main Street Nashville referring to this tournament and just how deep the SEC is this year in particular. And that this conference never waits for anybody under any circumstance, but it's been particularly tough this year. I mean, we've talked about the fact that the top 4 seeds combined to lose one home game this year.
And that one loss was to a team who is also playing today on day one of the SEC tournament,
which just tells you how wacky this conference is. Again,
truly is.
I'll be shocked if it's 2 top 4 seeds in the finals on Sunday.
Yeah,
I don't know who the spoiler is going to be, but I don't know that it'll be 2 top 4s.
It absolutely. I would not be surprised to see an Alabama or, perhaps even Florida, make a run.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't surprise me at all to see something like that. LSU is outside the top 4, and of course they're in a.
LSU's got issues.
They've got issues today.
They've got issues.
So,
got that MOA from.
At some point today, tomorrow, we'll talk about Will Wade's future at LSU.
And you know what I mean?
He made it through the last time.
Exactly. Yeah, kind of a Teflon Don down there in Baton Rouge. I mean, nothing seems to stick to the FRA grads. So
it's wild, man. All right, let's take a break and bring in Tommy Bryan of Main Street Preps, the Wilson Post sports editor. On the other side of the break, he's got plenty to talk about, I'm sure. And so I'm looking forward to it. Come back with us. Tommy Bryan joins us on the other side of Main Street Sports today. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Welcome back in to Main Street Sports today. Chris Yao, Mo Patton, JP Plant on the controls. Time to talk a little high school hoops, as we like to do here on this show quite often, almost every day. So
Seems to be the time of year to do it.
If you're not going to do it now, when else
if
would
not
you?
now, when?
If not now, when? Exactly. So to do that, I want to bring in, I guess, on top of being the Wilson Post sports editor and also TSWA Hall of Famer, he's the voice of the Blue Devils, Tommy Bryan, out in Lebanon today. Tommy, what's going on, man?
Hey guys, just clearing out the phones between coaches and sports information directors and graphic designers, carving out a little piece of time for you two guys.
Well, man, we sure do appreciate you doing so. The Blue Devils coming off of that Region 5 4A championship win over previously unbeaten Beach on Thursday night, continued their role in Monday's sectional with a 65-57 win over visiting Independence, ending the Eagles season and propelling themselves into a state quarterfinal matchup with Clarksville next Wednesday. It'll be the late game over at MTSU on Wednesday. Tip-off is at 5:45. And Tommy, what are your thoughts about the Blue Devils' prospects as they get to the Final Eight?
They're playing well, Mo, and as you well know, I'd rather be hot than be good. They're a mixture of both. They've won 5 in a row to this point. The last game they lost was at Oakland in the regular season finale. They've been battle tested. They've had a couple of overtime victories over just a tough as nails Green Hill basketball team. The win over Beach, they were down 7 with 4 minutes to go and came roaring back to win that one. Independence, they got down early. Lebanon likes to play a little 1-2-2 big man zone. They put Jared Hall and Yarin Alexander out at the point of that defense and use that wingspan. And they've got Jalen Abston, quarterback extraordinaire.
Mm-hmm.
He's the power forward in that lineup, and he kind of anchors the bottom. And they did that against Independence, and Jet Montgomery and the Reese kid almost shot him out of the gym. Jet Montgomery, they say he's 5'11". He's 5'8", but he's got, what's the best way to put this? He will shoot it anywhere, anytime. There are no restraints on that kid, and he hit a couple that should have been worth 4 points. Well, Lebanon at the tail end of the first quarter switches to man, and with that wingspan and length that they have and the athleticism, they pretty much control the rest of the basketball game against a really good Independence team. And I think that's the way they're going to probably have to play against Clarksville. They'll have a mix of zone and man. They like to start out in the zone. That gives them a pretty good advantage rebounding. But Jared Hall, the 6'8" junior who's being looked at by everybody, he's got grades, he can leap. He was a junior high point guard and then went through an incredible growth spurt. He's kind of the man. He had 18 rebounds in the game against Beach in the region finals. He had, I want to say he had 16 points and 8 rebounds against Independence, and he had 6 dunks in that game. 5 finished off the press offense, and 1, the ball's just loose down on the floor, and he just picked it up and goes up and 2 hands the thing right underneath the basket. Alexander is a kid who is 6'6". He's a senior, has the ability to shoot the basketball, can handle it. Depending upon the matchup, they'll run him inside. They'll let him stay outside. Their point guard, I think, vastly underrated, senior Rolando Dowell, can attack the basket, can shoot it, has mastered the shot of the little floater in the paint or attacking from the corner. He's a distributor. And then kind of the X factor in that lineup is the off guard, a kid named Wyatt Bowling, left-handed junior, who attacks the basket like crazy, can run the floor, is a very good defender. Their rotation has pared down, and you know how it is in tournament time. You'll pare that lineup down. They're playing about 7 kids now. They got a kid named Bryce Niesick who comes off the bench as a shooter, and they've got an offensive lineman named Aiden Donald who's about 6'4", 240, who runs well. And every game he seems to do something a little bit more basketball-like than you have seen him do before, other than just go in there and be Fred Flintstone and knock people all around and that sort of thing. I understand Clarksville is a athletic team, not very tall, but they put 5 or 6 guys out there who can all play the game. I'm looking forward to a really good basketball game.
Speaking with Tommy Bryan, sports editor of the Wilson Post here on Main Street Sports today. Tommy, you mentioned the 6'4", 240 kid coming off the bench, Rolando Dowell. He's a football guy as well, is he not?
No, Dowell is not. Aiden Donald is.
Okay.
Donald is the tackle who comes in and plays, and he's a football player. He's got offers right now as a junior from Tennessee Tech and Austin Peay and TSU and some places like that. And
that seems good.
And he's a kid who could probably put about 20 or 30 more pounds on his frame and handle it pretty easily. But out there on the basketball court, their bodies go flying around when he's out there.
Well, we like those dual sports guys. So, but Tommy, in this day and time around here locally, you don't find a whole lot of height like Alexander and Hall. I mean, 6'6" and 6'8" on the same team. I imagine that causes a lot of folks a lot of problems just because there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of height around here traditionally.
Well, when teams play man, there are some matchup problems out there, and if they have a big who can match up with Jared Hall, Jared has the ability to run out behind the arc, to shoot it, or to put it on the floor and attack the basket if they clear out. Alexander at 6'6" is again, he plays the point on that 1-2-2 zone defense. It's tough to go guard to guard passing the basketball against those guys. And then Jalen Apson, the quarterback at Lebanon, who is the power forward, he benefits quite a bit from some of those mismatches. And if you don't have a body to put on him, he'll take that thing in there and score and get rebounds. So they are not a sit on the post, throw me the ball kind of big oriented team, but they use their size to hopefully create mismatches in their pick and roll game. And it has been fun to watch the way Jim McDowell in his 11th year as head coach at Lebanon High has crafted this bunch. First trip to the state for Lebanon since 2000. They had 3,000 people in the gym Monday night, the first night of spring break, and the band was out of town in San Antonio playing in a festival down there. The place was full. All the kids were down there, filled up one end of the floor. It was the place only seats 2,400, and they had 3,000 in there if they had a single one.
I saw some pictures of it,
Yeah.
and man, it was absolutely just jam packed in there. Lebanon set to take on Clarksville at 5:45 next Wednesday. Of course, that is at Middle Tennessee State at the Murphy Center, the Glass House, if you will. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Looking at this bracket again, Lebanon Clarksville is the final game of the 4A quarterfinals. Right before that, Alabama signee Brandon Miller and Cane Ridge takes on Bearden. In the earlier games on Wednesday, it's Bartlett and Beach. And hearing a lot out of Memphis about Bartlett, there are folks that seem to think they're the favorite. Unless you're in Lebanon, folks
Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org, or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Welcome back in to Main Street Sports today. I have no idea how much time is left in this Beach Arlington game, but Beach leads at 57-50, and I think they're shooting free throws. So I'm guessing that it's closer to the end than 240, considering there was 2:18 left a while back. So I don't know. All I know is Beach is winning. So. Hate that we missed Tommy.
Yeah.
There is some interesting news out there in the Wilson County, Lebanon world involving the super speedway.
The Gladeville world.
Yeah.
More specifically.
More specifically, Gladeville. So, yeah, wanted to talk to him about that, but perhaps if you are interested in what's going on at the super speedway, we will be able to inform you here very soon. Again, later this show, we have Teresa Walker joining us. Tomorrow, we'll have Marlon Sims of Cane Ridge and Heather Williams, WCYB TV, who will join us and talk a little NASCAR, speaking of super speedways. So, yeah.
That's where Nashville Super Speedway got their idea from.
Exactly. So, well, they own that facility now.
Right.
So Speedway Inc. owns the Nashville Super Speedway now anyway. So anyway, let's talk a little football, Mo, because news breaking all day long, quarterbacks going everywhere.
You know, if you're a quarterback in the NFL right now.
Not named Ryan Tannehill?
Yeah, I think so. Then you might be wanting to check out realtors.
Who's next? Is Matt Ryan next?
There is talk of such, but I'm telling you, man, I mean, a lot of people will tell you that there are not 32 QB1 caliber quarterbacks in the National Football League.
I'm one of those people who will tell you that.
And so if you've got one,
you might want to keep
I'm not sure that trading him is the best thing.
Especially when you don't get anything back but picks. But.
And here's the thing. In this particular situation that we're getting ready to discuss, and I guess we should probably discuss it first, but I got a question.
All right. Carson Wentz has been traded. He will head to the Washington Commanders.
Not commandos.
I'm going to mess
Commodores.
That up. I'm going to mess up commandos.
Commanders.
The Washington Commanders. And it appears they're going to get a slew of picks back, which is
not as many as Seattle got back, but a pretty good bunch.
No, but they'll get at least 2 third-rounders and maybe some other things.
One of those is a conditional. I think it can go to a second rounder if Wentz plays 70% of the offensive plays or something like that.
Kind of like they lost their first round pick because of that. But same question here. Where do they go? Where do the Colts go?
I don't know where the Colts go.
I have a thought, but let's get to your question first.
Bluntly put, is Carson Wentz and I didn't see a whole lot of Washington football, but I know Taylor Heineke played a lot. Is Carson Wentz an upgrade?
It depends which Carson Wentz you get. I mean, good Carson, bad Carson. And consistency, probably Heineke is the better quarterback.
Yeah, I mean,
but potential.
Yeah, I guess Wentz probably has a higher ceiling, but how often does he reach it?
And for a team like Washington
to make that move,
well, I mean, what else you got? At least Indianapolis had some help. I mean, without Jonathan Taylor, Carson Wentz would have been nothing last year. Would have been awful.
No.
So you have traded away a quarter. So maybe what they're thinking is we can get rid of the cap space. We can get some picks back, and we can't get worse because we still got Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah. Worst comes to worst, we just turn and hand it off 35 times. Ain't the worst thing that could happen.
Zach Hicks, lead analyst for SI Colts. Tweets, going to throw this back out there now. The Colts really did like a certain quarterback last offseason and were planning on trading for him before the Wentz deal became a thing. The most realistic option is for a rookie and this quarterback. Do you know who that quarterback is?
This quarterback is Marcus Mariota.
That quarterback is Marcus Mariota. Could you imagine?
Man, him rolling in here once a year or rolling in here next year with the horseshoe on his head?
The meltdown of Titans fans would be one of epic proportions.
What if he came in here and won?
Oh, it would be over. We'd burn the city. I mean, seriously.
I just don't think that's what you want if you're a Titan supporter.
You don't want to see Marcus Mariota in another uniform in your
in Nissan or what is it? Nissan? It's
still Nissan for now.
Okay, cool.
In LP Field,
Adelphia
Coliseum.
Right.
That would be interesting to say the least. Carson Wentz in Washington, I don't really care at this point. Like, good for him. Go do your thing.
It's like a friend of mine responded to my tweet to that effect. You know, she's a Cowboys fan, so she likes to see NFC East folks
do stupid stuff to hurt the team.
Yeah.
And rumors that Seattle is exploring options for Deshaun Watson.
Until he is traded, those they're going to be rumors. Because I think Washington was
until he's traded or
leaves the league. Yeah. I think Washington was supposedly exploring that as well.
So you've got here's what you have right now. You've got Seattle, who has no quarterback.
No.
You have Pittsburgh, who has no quarterback.
Mason Rudolph.
Rudolph. No, I don't think so. I don't think he is an option. The New York Giants are exploring Mitch Trubisky, which means they clearly don't have very much faith in Daniel Jones, because if you're asking for Mitch Trubisky, come on.
Which kind of vindicates the Buffalo offensive coordinator or whoever it was that wouldn't come to the Giants with Brian DeBole because he didn't want to work with Daniel Jones.
Exactly.
No.
No, I'm good.
No.
I like this other guy better.
Yeah.
So, and I, again, will tell you that at any given point in time, there are 14 to 15 people in the entire world who can play NFL quarterback at a high level. So you've got a bunch of teams.
Is one of those in Nashville?
I think yes.
Okay.
Ryan Tannehill is one of the 15 people in the world who can play NFL quarterback at a high level.
If you've got one of those guys,
You got to keep him. Atlanta.
Unless you're Seattle, apparently.
Seattle is in a full rebuild. They let their
and that's kind of fascinating considering you got a 70-year-old coach.
It really is. I think this is what the deal is.
I mean, what's the saying? This guy doesn't even buy unripe bananas,
My granddad would answer the telephone when telemarketers called and said, "Buddy, at my age, I don't buy a green banana at the store anymore."
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe this is Pete Carroll working through the rebuild as a general manager type, or just kind of as a placeholder.
Or maybe they got enough draft picks in that trade
They got
and
plenty
enough
of them.
other collateral that they feel like they can make another deal for a quarterback with somebody else who's
They just
ready to
dumped
give one of those top 15 away.
They dumped a bunch of cap space, letting
Bobby Wagner
go.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're in a position where you can be buyers if you want to be.
Well, if they're not in full rebuild, they're doing a pretty dang good imitation of it.
Competitive rebuild, like the Predators.
Yeah.
And they very well could be. They could be in a situation where, they want to just they want to build the defense and hope your offense is good enough with whomever is your quarterback option.
I tell you what, though, again, I mentioned this yesterday. If I'm DK Metcalf, if I'm Tyler Hockett,
mm-hmm.
If I'm those guys, I'm not terribly happy right now.
Just remember, now I understand that they just let Wagner go. Don't get me wrong. I get that. But if they're building a defense and that's what they want to build it on, that's perfectly fine. It works in the NFL. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl. It can be done with a guy like Drew Lock if necessary.
But I don't know that it can be done with a guy like Drew Lock, because Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson were veterans. They kind of knew their game. They knew who they were and who they weren't. I'm not sure that Drew Lock has necessarily gained that knowledge. And those guys,
maybe he has now.
if he hadn't before yesterday, maybe he has now. Yeah. Those guys were okay with being game managers. And I'm not sure that Drew Lock is there.
Maybe not.
Those guys knew that their thing was don't lose a game for us.
Yeah. Don't turn it over. Just don't do stupid stuff to hurt the team. Real quick, we got a couple minutes left. Tennessee Titans failed to tag Harold Landry because they were going to give him $87.5 million
for 5 years.
So they have locked up Harold Landry at least for as long as Bud Dupree is going to be in town.
That math is what, 17.5 a year?
Sure. I have no idea.
Pretty sure
it's pretty close.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
And that's what he wanted. That's what they were going to pay him either way.
I don't know why they had to go through the dramatics of saying we're not going to tag him, and then hours later say, "Oh, by the way, we're going to do a new deal with him."
I think pulling some that's some PR stuff. Trying to get into the. If you don't tag him, then you sign him. You have a 6-hour media window. Whereas
if you just sign him,
do one or the other, you get 2 hours of a media window.
Wow.
So I mean, that's kind of stuff.
Milking it, huh?
Milk it for all you can. So anyway, Harold Landry coming back 5 years, $87.5 million with the Titans. This should be this defensive front is locked up, loaded, ready to go. As long as we have a quarterback who has vowed to never play that way again. Speaking of his performance against Cincinnati, told told J-Rob, I promise you I will never play that poorly again. So perhaps Ryan Tannehill has realized he is, in fact, a game manager.
I don't know that he is.
I don't either. I'm just being.
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
That offense is going to be fun.
I hope he can live up to that vow.
I hope he can too. Absolutely. All right, let's take a quick break because it is halftime. And I don't know if you guys have seen this story on The Athletic regarding winning time. And it's interesting. So have you guys watched it?
I have not.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you about it on the other side.
Tell us.
It's halftime. Come back.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
So Gary Vitti, who is a longtime athletics trainer for the Los Angeles Lakers and famously repaired a cut on Magic Johnson's forearm without gloves after his HIV announcement.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's what people remember Gary Vitti for.
Mhm.
He spent 2 days as an actor on Winning Time and as an in-house expert. After those 2 days over, producers offered him $15,000 to continue his job, and he said, "No, I don't want any part of this."
Okay.
The reason,
That's a pretty strong principle there. 'Cause
yeah, 15 grand.
Yeah.
It is a dramatized account based on author Jeff Pearlman's 2014 bestseller Showtime, who we spoke with about this. It's a heavily researched work of nonfiction, but this is a TV show.
That's right.
And Jerry West is portrayed pretty negatively in the pilot. Basically, we all know that he didn't want to draft Magic Johnson. He had a point guard, an all-star point guard. He didn't need a point guard. He certainly didn't need one that was 6'8". So
6'9".
That's right.
So anyway, they kind of, him and Dr. Buss are on the golf course, and Jerry breaks a golf club over his knee, and he's cussing Jerry Buss all the way out. And then after they draft Magic, he goes to his office and throws his Finals MVP trophy through a window in the door. And according to people who were there, said, well, he didn't even have a window in his office. So that definitely didn't happen. But again, lots of dramatization, right? Yeah, so it's interesting. You guys need to watch it. If you have not watched it, you need to, because it is really interesting, and I enjoyed it. And even Vitti, he basically the last sentence of this story from Bill Oram says, "I watched it," Vitti said, "and if I didn't know any better, I probably would have liked it. It's entertaining. It really was."
If I didn't know any better, being the key, though.
Yeah. He basically said, I watched it. My wife was next to me, and my wife continued to just ask me questions on what was real and what wasn't. Most viewers don't have a personal fact checker at their disposal. So, it is good as far as, you just have to understand that the facts are probably there, but it is a dramatization of what happened.
Right.
And John C. Reilly is.
I'll tell you a story about that offline, and then we can see if we want to include it on air. But before we get done with halftime, girls for a final beat 62, Arlington 52.
Dang.
Opened it up late.
Yeah, they did. Knock down them free throws.
There you go.
But anyway, Jerry West, whose season tickets were revoked by the Lakers, He's a consultant with the Clippers. Perhaps that had something to do with it.
Shouldn't.
I'm just saying, perhaps.
Yeah,
I mean, if we're looking for a reason.
I mean, that's kind of petty if that's accurate, but yeah. I mean,
Well,
I guess.
clearly
Worked for the Clippers before.
Clearly the Buss family, Jeannie, who worked with the Lakers, and Jerry West, perhaps they don't jive too much. I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get out of halftime and come back and talk about college basketball, and Major League Baseball is inching closer and closer to a deal, it appears. So let's get into it on the other side of this break on Main Street Sports today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Second half of Main Street Sports today. Coming up, we'll talk with Teresa Walker with the Associated Press. The NCAA tournament's on the horizon. The SEC tournament starting today. We'll get her take, plus a little MLB conversation. Get the latest on that. And Wild and Wacky Wednesday. Now to the two zaniest guys this side of the Duck River. It's the Hall of Famer Mo Patton, the Sundrive kid from Alabama, Chris Yao.
You know, I've been described a lot of ways. I don't think zany has ever been one of them.
Other than on this show, clearly.
But yeah. I'm not even sure it applies to me on this show. I think you're the zany. Maybe you're zany enough for both of
Mo,
us.
guilty by association.
Oh, there we go.
Gatorade Girls Basketball Player of the Year, State of Tennessee, Carly Weathers of Loretto High School.
Solid.
Hey, Gatorade's in the family. Ryan was the
It's like
baseball Gatorade.
Ryan was the national.
The national. This is the state.
This is the state.
Yeah.
And it'll run up to.
Yeah. I guess both will have Gatorade for life now, right? Does that come with it?
I'm not sure how long it is. But yeah.
I don't think you're allowed to drink anything else the rest of your life if you're named Gatorade Player of the Year.
Yeah.
One
I
would
just feel
think.
like it's just a thought. But anyway, as I was obviously, Major League Baseball has been on the forefront of some conversations on this show because of 1 hour affinity for Major League Baseball, but also this whole CBA negotiation has just been crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It appears that MLB has come up on their CBT offer, and has added a third tier to the luxury tax, by the way, which is being affectionately called the Steve Cohen tax. The owner of the Mets, who basically does not care how much money he has to spend, he's going to spend it. And
how's that working for him, by the way?
Well, I think he's decided, if the money I was spending wasn't enough, double it.
I'm not much in the vein of Amanda Newton, my Dallas Cowboys fan that we referred to a little bit ago. Do what you got to do, but they're still going to be looking up at somebody.
I mean, I hope.
Yeah.
Obviously, as Braves fans, we want to see the Braves at the forefront and the top of that league.
Mm-hmm.
But 16 hours they negotiated yesterday. It appears that they'll take $40 million on the pre-arbitration number, but they will not. They will not accept an international draft, which David Ortiz has come out in absolute against it.
Mhm.
So he actually said, in principle, I don't hate the idea. It's just you're trying to put it together in 6 months, and that's not good. That's not going to work for folks here in the Dominican. So you just go ahead and do that. So
Count us out. Yeah.
So it does appear that it's pretty close to a deal. So I'm looking forward to it. I think that this is going to get done this week and could potentially they would start early April, first week of April or so, and then make up the first few games in doubleheaders throughout the year. So
So that would still maintain a 162 game schedule then?
It would maintain a 162 day game schedule.
Okay.
It really looks like, again, it looks like they're close. So I'm feeling good at this point.
Cautiously optimistic.
Right now, according to Oriole statistics, he has compiled the information from different sources. The MLBPA's minimum salary is at $725. MLB is at $700. So I feel like that's pretty easily taken care of. CBT, the owners are at $230. The players are at $232 and going up each year. The players want to get to $250, where the owners say they'll stop at $242. So that's still close enough for some room. The pre-arbitration bonus pool is where they're still about $25 million off. MLBPA is looking for 65. Major League Baseball wants 40. And in the grand scheme, none of those numbers are that far off.
Mm-hmm. And there shouldn't be anything there that's deal breaking at that point. You ought to be able to reach some kind of if not a happy medium, certainly a medium.
Here is the ironic part.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Cohen is basically on the player's side. He wants the money as high as possible. The other 29 owners are the ones who are trying to keep the money down.
Mm-hmm.
Cohen's like, yeah, whatever they want, just all the money. Well, not everybody's got Steve Cohen money. I mean, yeah, you own a professional baseball franchise, but that don't mean you have all the money. So, I feel like this is close, and so does Evan Drellich and Jeff Passan. So maybe by the end of the week we can announce Major League Baseball will be back.
I would be good with that, because I keep going to high school sporting events, and people, like you said, knowing that we are baseball fans and Braves fans in particular, keep accosting me.
Yeah.
Are we going to get baseball?
You know what?
And I'm like, dude.
No. And until we do, we're the world champs. You will refer to me as a fan of the world champion Atlanta Braves, Chris Yao, in 2006 Time Man of the Year.
We should put that in our bios. Fans of the world champion Atlanta Braves. Yeah.
A couple things in college basketball before we get out here. One, did you see the fight in the Bryant Wagner game?
Saw it, heard about it. Nuts.
I sent you the greatest video of all time on Twitter. JP, have you seen this fight?
I have not.
Okay, so the Bryant student section and the Wagner student section in the Northeast Conference Championship were basically sitting next to one another, which
strike one.
That was dumb anyway. Two, the Bryant students got a little unruly because they were winning, and we can't hear you scoreboard bullcrap.
And not they weren't just winning.
Oh, they were.
It was
winning.
like 68-32 or
it was
something.
bad.
Yeah.
And so they ended up playing the last 4 minutes of the game with no fans. They just kicked
everybody out.
So
non-students included?
Everybody.
You got to go.
Everybody's got to go.
That's fan shaming. Where it's forcing fan shaming. Forcing those non-students to shame those students that made them leave.
There you go.
was wild. And I mean, the video is phenomenal, by the way. So you guys should definitely watch it. But Bryant did win eventually, and by way of winning their conference tournament, they will advance to the National Collegiate Athletic Association's 68-team national tournament to determine a national champion. In the Atlantic Sun, Bellarmine won their conference championship, but will not advance to the 68-team National Collegiate Athletic Association's national tournament to determine a national champion. And why is that? Because, as we've told you on this show earlier this week, they are not eligible due to moving up from Division II within the last 4 years.
2 years ago, I believe it was.
This is their second year.
Mm-hmm.
In their second year, they won the conference tournament. And as Tommy,
seems like that's to be rewarded.
One would think. As Tommy Bryan would tell you, he'd rather be hot than good. Because 16 days ago, Jacksonville State beat Bellarmine by 15 at Bellarmine. Okay? And Jacksonville State, by way of being the regular season ASUN champion, will advance to the NCAA tournament because Bellarmine cannot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just that. Those are the bylaws in the ASUN. All right. Should the NCAA change its transition rule? Yes.
Before I can tell you, yes, the NCAA should change its transition rule, I need to know why it's in place.
It doesn't make any sense to have it. I don't know why.
On its face, it doesn't make sense. I mean, if I knew why, then maybe I could say, oh, okay, I get it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but I don't know why.
I just don't think that there is a good reason why. So,
and there may not be, but there may be.
There should, in fact, be a rule change, both allowing a team who moves from a lower division to a higher division, if they can,
to be immediate. Yeah, if you can win a conference tournament,
then you should get to go to a national tournament. But I argue that they should change.
You can stop right there. I argue that's enough for Chris, isn't it, JP?
I will argue that I don't know why we play mid-major regular seasons.
Why you play mid-major regular?
They're useless.
For seeding?
They're useless.
For seeding for the tournament. I mean, you should either play one or the other. I mean, they play the tournaments for the money.
Here's what you do. The regular season champ gets the AQ to the NCAA tournament. The tournament champion, if not the AQ, gets the NIT bid. Swap them. Because you are rewarding a season.
You're rewarding a hot team instead of a good team.
That's correct. That's my argument. That is my rule change that I would submit. You guys,
I don't necessarily have an issue with that.
Let's talk to Teresa Walker. Speaking of conference tournaments, we'll talk about the SEC tournament that she will probably be posted up at courtside on Media Row. So
I don't know. It's in Tampa.
Oh, that's right. It is in Tampa. She probably won't be. That's sad.
Mm-hmm.
Vanderbilt plays tonight, though, so we'll talk to her about that and probably some Preds and Titans stuff, too. So y'all stick around on Main Street Sports Today. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org, or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Main Street Today is your half-hour coffee break with Devin O'Day, featuring lifestyle, inspiration, and entertainment news. Main Street Today, it airs live weekdays at 11 a.m. Central, or you can catch it on demand on all of the Main Street Media social platforms, including highlights on Instagram at Main Street Today Radio. Take your daily coffee break with Devin O'Day on Main Street Today, weekdays at 11 a.m. on Main Street Media social platforms. Back to Mo and Chris.
You guys drink coffee midday?
Any time of the day for me.
My mom is that
Not
way.
really. I'm more of a morning coffee guy.
My mother drinks coffee from 7
wake
in the
up to-
morning
from-
to she goes to sleep. It's all day long. It blows my mind. This is a woman who will keep the same coffee beans in her coffee grounds in her coffee maker all day long and just add one scoop to it every time she makes a new cup. It's incredible. And then dumps it at the end of the day. That's better than, filling it up every time.
That is true. Yeah.
It just cracks me up. Anyway, welcome back in Main Street Sports Today. Coming to you on this Hump Day edition, almost to the backside of the week. Now we get to talk to our friend Teresa Walker of the Associated Press, who has been keeping up with a lot of different things lately.
Mm-hmm.
And most recently, the SEC women's basketball tournament. And I'm sure she's seen some previews and some. She's certainly keeping an eye on the men's tournament as well. So we will talk to her as the men's tournament is getting ready to tip off here in just a couple of hours. Teresa, welcome in. How are you?
I am good. And, hey, it's March, it's a month so crazy. They call it March Madness. So, I was actually talking with a colleague earlier today. He kind of wishes that NFL free agency had not been bumped back a week, but considering that, the SEC has turned Nashville into its men's basketball home for the tournament, this year being just kind of the exception with them being in Tampa, I don't mind it, because I'll tell you guys, there's been a couple years where, Titans are busy in free agency and I've got games. It's like I feel like I'm being pulled, more than usual, 10 different ways from Sunday. So I'm kind of enjoying the fact that the SEC is in Tampa this week, and enjoying the fact that, Titans have been a little busy, and, free agency kicks off a week from today, guys, at 3 o'clock Central Time, a week from today. NFL free agency goes insane. And, considering what's happened the last couple of days, I mean, anybody else have fun?
How active would you expect this team to be in free agency?
No, they got to be active in a way just to keep the guys that they want to keep. I mean, everyone was panicking yesterday when they didn't use franchise tag on Harold Landry, but it's like people were acting like, oh, that means they're not going to get a deal done. And sure enough, hours later, I confirmed the reports of the 5-year extension. So, they didn't want to let him go. And then this morning, they've got a trio of guys who undrafted, at least 2 of them are undrafted, and Tier Tart, who started 10 games this last year. And then, Nick Westbrook-Akina, who, surprisingly enough, was the second-ranked receiver behind A.J. Brown. in catches, yards, and touchdowns. So, they've been busy. And, there's Ben Jones, who's now the top target out of, potentially hitting free agency a week from today that they've got to turn their attention to. And they've got to create some cap space. This team is still millions of dollars, depending on which, over the cap has them at effective cap space at $10 million. So, this team has got a lot of business to get done before free agency starts. And all the fun starts Monday in the legal tampering period, where they can start talking deals and agree to deals that can't be announced until after the new league year starts on Wednesday. So this team, that front office, is very busy, and it's going to get busier because, do you keep a Chester Rogers? How many of these guys do you just go ahead and leave and see if you can upgrade on in free agency? I think that them keeping the guys that they've already made, the moves they've already done, shows an indication that they want to kind of keep the band together.
Speaking with Teresa Walker of the Associated Press here on Main Street Sports Today. And Teresa, I may have badly phrased my question. How active do you expect the Titans to be with free agents who are not currently on their roster?
Yeah, and I probably misunderstood that question. That's a great question, Mo. They've got so many guys of their own that are hitting free agency. It depends on how much cap space do they clear up, because they could create a lot of space by just simply redoing contracts for Taylor Lewan, Kevin Byard, Roger Saffold, who's going into the final year of his deal. Cut Jack Rabbit Jenkins and go, see if you can maybe upgrade at your veteran cornerback. So active. The one thing that we have seen them do under John Robinson is be more surgical. It's not like they're out there spending money left and right, but they're going out and addressing the needs that they have. And, right now, the biggest two needs for this team, tight end, because they never really truly got a number one tight end to replace Johnny Smith, and then depth at wide receiver. So, and they don't have a second round pick right now in the April draft. So they are going to have to fill some of those holes in free agency. So, now I thought Mike Gesicki, a tight end from Miami, would have been a great target for them, but he got franchise tagged. I've seen a lot of names on the tight ends suggested out there. I'm avoiding Gronkowski. I'm sorry, but he's old and he's been injured too much the last few years. I'm staying away from him. CJ Azuma, who I just saw in the Super Bowl, and Titan fans saw him with the Bengals. That's a guy that I think could be a nice target for them. So I think that they're going to go, don't expect them to be, coming off the top rope, spending money left and right. That one that hasn't been John Robinson's mode of operating. And, how much he goes into this free agent market is going to depend on how much cap he creates. Because, that to me is the big thing now, trying to keep Ben Jones and if they choose to do that, and then creating cap space so that they can do anything else. They're going to have to create space so that they can actually sign their their rookie draft class this year. So, how active they are is going to depend on how much space they create.
O.J. Howard?
I wouldn't mind seeing him at all, right? That's the thing. And what we've seen them do is go for younger players, trying to get guys coming off their first contracts, because when you're getting somebody coming off that second or third contract, that's when you get age, you get, some more injury issues and things like that. And, to me, O.J. Howard is still among the younger group of tight ends that I wouldn't mind taking a look at.
He's been my number one name for tight ends from day one. But I was also hoping that Brady might stick around so Gronk would stick around and OJ would be like, let me get out of here and go somewhere where I can be the guy. Now at this point, I don't know. He may be like, let me get out of here because I don't know who else is going to be the guy. Who knows? Especially since Godwin apparently was not tagged. So I don't know what they're doing there. Anyway, Teresa, I want to talk about the SEC basketball tournament, switching gears here momentarily, because Vanderbilt does play tonight. Unfortunately, they have to play in this day one of the tournament. They get Georgia, who they have beaten twice this year. How far can Vanderbilt go in this tournament?
With Liam Robbins and Rodney Chapman and Scottie Pippen, I would not be surprised to see them maybe win 2 games at this tournament, which would set them up for a Friday game against Kentucky, if I remember the bracket properly. And they played Kentucky fairly decently in Memorial Gym, and they didn't have Robbins. And if Chapman played, it didn't make a ton of impact on me. The fact of the matter is they are 7-3 with Rodney Chapman on the floor. This is a guy who transferred over from Dayton. He was with that team that was doing, if not for COVID, that Dayton team was in position to maybe chase a national championship. So he is a very talented player, and to have him on the roster is a huge, huge help. So, yeah, I think they could go win maybe 2 games and then see what happens on Friday against, Kentucky. And, if they can get 2 wins, they just might play themselves into an NIT bid. So, that's the thing. We haven't seen this team truly healthy all season long, not all together. And now, they're feeling a little confident down there. They had Jordan Wright and Scottie Pippen talking to us yesterday via Zoom, and they both sound like they can't wait to tip the ball off. Now, that said, this is a team that has had a lot of close games yet again, and they've got to start showing that they can close those games out, make the plays, and score the basket and get the points that they have to have when it's winning time. We haven't seen as much of that from these Commodores. So, this is going to be the only time this team goes together, because Chapman, Robbins, graduate transfers, Scottie Pippen, he came back to prove to the NBA that, yes, he could win some games. The moment is now for him to see what he can help this team do.
Teresa, you mentioned Rodney Chapman. Great story on The Athletic today by a friend of the show, Joe Rexroad. And he didn't just transfer from Dayton. Vanderbilt is his 3rd stop. He started at UT Chattanooga, or Chattanooga, as I think they prefer to be called. But this guy's kind of been around the block, and he's had some tough situations, like you said, the COVID situation that kept Dayton from really pursuing a national championship. He's been hurt, and I'm not sure that hamstring is 100% as they go into this ball game tonight either. So that'll definitely be something to watch as Vanderbilt kind of puts its hopes on having a healthy Rodney Chapman.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, with both Robbins and Chapman, health has been such an issue for them. So, if they can keep them healthy, and if that hamstring can survive, I just want to see what this team is. People, I know there's some Vandy fans that are kind of getting down on Jerry Stackhouse. It's like, why aren't we better than this? And it's like, well, he's brought some guys in to try to make them better, and you can't fix injuries. I mean, shoot, it's almost like there's a black cloud over that entire program. Predating Jerry Stackhouse. I mean, Bryce Drew was done in by injuries to Darius Garland. So, it's just been a running thing for a few seasons now. So maybe they're just due to have some decent luck as far as guys being healthy. And if they do, that can, that literally can be the difference this time of the year.
The difference this time of the year is strictly getting hot and getting good guard play. The positive for Vanderbilt is they have great guards. and at this point in the year, especially against a team like in the second round, if they were to win tonight, they'd get Alabama, who has certainly struggled at times. So this is certainly interesting. I'm excited to see how this tournament plays out, because like you said, Mo, deepest SEC we've seen in a long time, top 4 seeds. If we don't see 2 top 4 seeds in the championship, it would not surprise us. The depth of this Southeastern Conference, Teresa, all year long has just been insane.
Oh, it absolutely has. And I think the thing we're all waiting to watch is, as good as these teams were at home, Tennessee goes undefeated. Arkansas so dominant at home, beating Auburn and Kentucky and Tennessee, and Kentucky at Rupp doing well. I mean, and Auburn, of course. they have just dominated at home. Now they got to do it on a neutral court in a town. I'm curious to see what the attendance is. We know what the crowds are like when they're at Bridgestone. And, I won't be surprised at whoever ends up winning this tournament. The one thing that I'm curious, Tennessee hasn't won it since 1979. It's been a long time. And a year ago, they were playing really, really well. And John Fulkerson, took an elbow from Omar Payne, knocked him out of the semifinals against Alabama, knocked him out of the NCAA tournament loss to Oregon State. They're, yes, they lost Olivier Nkamwa, but they're healthy. And, the development of Kai Ziegler, Kennedy Chandler, and Jonas Adu, Adu, who's come in and been huge with the loss of, Nkamwa. So I'm really curious to see. I can't wait for tip-off on Friday night with the Vols to see, what can they do. And yes, I know there's Vol fans out there right now saying, well, sure, that's fine, but I want to see what they do in the NCAA tournament. I hear this in my own house about, they're going to probably lose to a beer league team once they do get to the NCAA tournament. But
we know who said that.
Yes, we do. But here's the thing. Don't worry. He drives me crazy saying that, but there's some validity to it.
He's not
right?
wrong.
Nobody wants to face Sister Jean in the tournament, but this is a team that back before the season started, a lot of us thought, with the talent they've got, could this be Tennessee's first Final Four team? And they're playing really, really well right now, and with a chance to prove whether or not they can go do it. So this is what we've been waiting for.
Teresa, I am reading Blake Lovell, who covers the SEC for Southeastern 14, and he asked a question on his Twitter. What is your favorite moment in the SEC tournament? Do you have a favorite moment in your time covering the Southeastern Conference tournament?
Oh, yeah. And I'm going to say thank you to Ron Higgins. It was the year that DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall were playing for Kentucky in the championship game. John Wall hits a shot to force overtime. Now, it was right before the buzzer, so I'm checking to see, did the shot count? Are we going to overtime? I have to send an alert or let New York know we're going to overtime so we can do a little advisory. And all of a sudden, DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall are coming, they're celebrating, and then they end up coming all the way to the other end of the court in front of where I'm sitting and end up rolling on the floor into the table that I am trying to write at. Thank God Ron Higgins is like 6'7", and he helped hold, like Hodor, he held the table, right, to keep it from rolling over on us. And late Dave Martin, photographer for the Associated Press, he took a picture of me kind of reacting in that moment because I'm doing like 5 things at once, right? And all of a sudden the table's moving and these huge men, DeMarcus Cousins is a big boy. He's rolling into the table. Panic. It's not a picture I wanted to keep because the look on, it's like I had 14 chins there because I'm like, ah! So thankfully Ron held the table. I was able to get the advisory sent and then refocus quickly for overtime. So that was a fun moment. When you're sitting at courtside, you get a lot of guys coming at you. That was one where I thought they were coming right into my lap.
Before we let Teresa go, gotta say it was announced on March 4th. What was that? Thursday, Friday? I don't remember. Days started to run together. Anyway, congratulations to Teresa for being involved in the AP Package of the Year for their coverage of the ongoing NBA at 75 series. She was involved in that along with Tim Reynolds, Brian Mahoney, Kyle Hightower, Eddie Pels, and Cliff Brunt, along with some photo and video folks. So the honors just keep coming for T. Walker, and congratulations on that from the APSE.
Thank you. Thank you, Mo. I was part of our NFL at 100 project, that won a couple of years ago. And I'm telling my editor, it's like, can we get a little teeny plaque for this one? We didn't, there was one plaque for the NFL project. It's like, can we get little teeny plaques at least for this one? Because it feels a little bit more real when you get a plaque. But thank you very much, Mo. And I say, working on this, if you haven't checked it out, we have a hub for the NBA at 75 on apnews.com. And I've covered the NBA for 20 years now, but to dive in from the start of this league and all the travails that it went through, and I've worked hard on a timeline that we looked at stuff off the court. We didn't just limit it to the things that were going on in basketball. A lot of fun going through history and pulling up pictures and digging up AP was their stories. I've been typing those in as well. Lots of fun seeing how our AP style has changed over the years.
Yes, it has. We can use percent signs now. Teresa, thanks. We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
When we come back, it's Wild and Wacky Wednesday, the weirdest and wildest news from across the world on Main Street Sports Today. Y'all stick around. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Wild and Wacky getting started early here in the break as we have found one of the most unique situations we've ever seen in college basketball world.
What's better than unique? I mean, I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's literally it is unique in its own right. It's never happened in that I can.
Not that I've seen.
Okay, the Wagner Bryant game last night
that we already referred
that we've referred to earlier. The Wagner coach, Bashir Mason, in his 10th year as Wagner coach, was dressed differently last night.
That's one way to put it.
In February, his star senior guard Elijah Ford tore his ACL and meniscus, ending his college career. In every game since, Bashir Mason, the coach, has worn the jersey of Elijah Ford on the sideline while coaching.
Is it a tank top style?
It is. It looks. Is
he wearing
jersey.
T-shirt?
Now he's
underneath?
got a T-shirt underneath.
Okay.
He does have a T-shirt underneath.
At least he's got a T-shirt. That would take it over the top if he did not have a T-shirt underneath. If the coach was going up there,
bare arms and all, baby.
Yep. Skinny
shooting sleeve.
Yep.
Shooting sleeve.
Yep. There you go. Shooting sleeve. I like it. Mm-hmm.
Fingers taped.
Oh, yeah. Like he's going to check in at any minute. Right. Well, this is not unusual in baseball. I mean, baseball coaches wear the uniform of their team, so it's just unusual in any other sport.
What if Vrabel showed up in full gear with shoulder pads and a helmet? Yeah.
This is anyway. I thought that was hilarious. Not the only wild and wacky thing that happened last night in terms of sports and basketball. Did you happen to see the warm-ups between the Clippers and Warriors last night?
Did not.
Jackie Moon,
Oh, I did see a highlight of that.
was
There you go.
warming up with the Warriors last night and hits about a 45, 50 footer from the Warriors logo, banks it in.
Is that Will Ferrell?
Will Ferrell, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jackie Moon is Will Ferrell.
He was in full
for
Jackie
those
Moon.
But for those who don't know, Jackie Moon is a character played by Will Ferrell in the movie Semi-Pro, and he plays for the Miami Tropics or Detroit. Detroit
The
Tropics?
Flint
Tropics.
Flint, Michigan.
That's right. And
Flint,
Michigan Tropics.
yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
which is very Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's insane. So there's that. Now we get into wild and wacky from across the world. Bottles of champagne are being recalled across the European Union because, well, if you can't have a fun enough party with champagne alone, just put liquid ecstasy in your champagne, because that'll liven it up. Woo!
I didn't know there was such a thing. Liquid ecstasy?
Oh yeah,
I guess you can liquefy anything, right?
What's that?
It's Poke. You owe me a Coke.
Yep.
Yeah. Shoot. Wow.
Anyway, such bottles have believed to have been tampered with, of course, completely emptied of champagne and filled instead with pure liquid MDMA.
Oh.
Wow.
So it's not a mix.
No, it's not mixed.
No,
It's
just straight up.
Straight up.
liquid Oh.
That's I mean, hey. Apparently there have been no reported incidents, but I figure if you pour out champagne and it doesn't bubble, you probably think, man, I probably shouldn't drink this.
I wouldn't.
I would not drink champagne that did not bubble.
Yeah.
So I would be very confused. Speaking of drugs and unique drugs or unique ways of obtaining drugs, Florida woman arrested for
Florida
a
woman.
DUI, but she wasn't drinking. No, she wasn't
Okay.
drinking.
Yeah. Influence is not necessarily alcohol.
She wasn't smoking the reefer or anything, driving
Okay.
down the road. No, 31-year-old Catherine Theodore was huffing cans of Right Guard deodorant.
Okay.
Multiple empty cans of Right Guard in her car, discovered during a traffic stop.
Wow.
As the deputy made initial contact with Theodore, he could smell the strong odor of spray deodorant inside the car. Whew. When asked, she said, I sprayed it because I really like the smell. She was drinking earlier in the day, which that makes about right.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, that was in Tampa. So if you're out there,
If you're going to the tournament, look out.
what if you see Right Guard cans on the side of the road, be careful. Finally, last one. A New York City man who needed to be rescued twice on consecutive days while hiking in northern Arizona is urging others to pay more attention to winter weather than he did. That's what you get when you leave from New York City.
Twice on consecutive days.
Who was this? Billy Crystal?
City slickers, baby.
I tell you what, his
Oh,
But-
man.
would have got left out there the second day.
Yeah.
How did you
Fool
not
me
learn
once,
your
shame on you.
lesson?
Fool me twice.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, good luck. Goodness gracious.
Unless you are an experienced alpine mountaineer, do not attempt Humphreys Peak in the winter. There's so much snow, it's difficult to follow the trail. Very easy to fall off of it. Moreover, the wind is absolutely brutal, Philip Basto said in an online post. So 28 years old, called 911 Wednesday at 7 to say he got lost. And then,
Well, if you're lost, how you expect us to find it?
I guess cell phone, right? And then apparently called them the next day as well at 5 o'clock to say he needed help after injuring himself in a fall near the ridge. So just goes to show. New York City. Where'd you get your salsa?
I can assure you that that's not going to happen to me.
Because you're not going to be on the
Ever.
Alpine Mountains,
No.
Humphreys Peak.
No.
I hear you. All right, that's going to do it for this Wednesday edition. Before we let you go, we do want to say Bearden currently leading Blackman, one loss Blackman, 21-15 at the half in Class 4A. So there you go.
Defensive struggle, huh?
Good information there. We'll be back tomorrow with the final score of that one and other games as well. And Heather Williams talking NASCAR. We've got Marlon Sims, the head coach of Cane Ridge, coming at you. So plenty to come back to tomorrow. Y'all hang out with us. We'll see you at 2 o'clock on Main Street Sports today. For JP and Mo, I'm Chris Yao saying have a great hump day. See you on the backside.